going through chemotherapy, putting on 2 stone of weight, losing all my hair, losing both of my breasts, periods stopping, not freezing my eggs, then going into early menopause.
Leanne Pero MBE, founder of cancer charity Black Women Rising. She turned her own pain into purpose, and when the space didn't exist, she built it.
I did not see any representation of anybody that really looked like me around the waiting rooms and in the leaflets that I was given. There was no representation of young women, let alone women of colour. Black people don't usually get cancer. So I was told that. These stigmas exist in our communities. That's what started that journey, was just feeling so excluded from any support. 46% of those women were told by their healthcare professional they did not think it was cancer.
They think I'm living a shame-based existence through trauma. What do you think about the connection between shame and Black women and health? But the road to creating a safe space for Black women wasn't always easy.
I had to come off X, it was completely trolled out. And what I'd had in my inbox was men shouting racial profanities. It was a 96 out of the 100 said when they were diagnosed, they did not see anybody that looked like them when they were diagnosed. When we do get a woman of colour coming through the doors, and she is a bit difficult and is refusing to take treatment, how can we learn about that experience? Why is that woman refusing treatment?
Have you got a message for people that are working in maybe decision-making roles in healthcare about how things could improve?
My biggest wish for it all would be Black women to be listened to. For me, what I'm learning the art of is just letting go and really focusing on that inner healing.
Today on Hormones and Heroines, I'm joined by the one and only Leanne Pero MBE.
Thank you.
You know that's a big flex to have the MBE.
I get nervous. I don't know what it makes me still feel a bit like, I don't say uncomfortable, but I'm just like, yeah, I don't know.
I would be so comfortable with letters after my name like that.
I don't know. Yeah, I love it. I'm so proud, do you know what I mean, as well. But yeah, I don't know. I still get a bit nervous about it.
What was that experience like? Talk me through the day when you got, you were told that you were getting an MBE, and then obviously when you rocked up to get it.
Yeah. Well, it took about, I'll be honest, it took about a year before I collected it. So obviously I got told, and you have to keep it under wraps and stuff. I think I spent a long time trying to investigate who started this campaign off and stuff. And I guess the people that pulled it together told me that they'd collected so many letters from the community. And I think that's what made me feel really comfortable with it, because it was like, actually, we gathered hundreds of letters from people saying that you should get this and in support of you. And I think that was the thing that made me feel really proud, And then the day itself was so magical. So I went to Windsor Castle, and from the minute we drove up to the castle, we were treated like royalty. They really do. On those days, they make you feel so special. And I'll never forget that day. It was really beautiful. The minute you arrive, people are so loving and complimentary. And, the Windsor Castle as well, it's very one-on-one service. Like, you get that one-on-one experience with whatever royal you get. So I got Prince William, and I had a wonderful chat with him, and it was fantastic.
What did you talk about?
We talked about Black Women Rising and the work that I do in the community. And what was really great was that people said that he would remember. He's very personable, and he learns about everybody from beforehand. And so when I went there, he was like, oh yes, I heard about your work. So he was very personable, which obviously just makes you feel really special. So I was really happy with that.
And did you feel his energy, like genuine?
Yeah. He was very genuine. And obviously at the time when I picked it up, Kate hadn't obviously come back to work yet and all these other things. So I think he really, really felt it. And I was like second to last on the list that day. So it was just had a little bit more time with him, and it was a really lovely conversation. And he just said he'd like to learn more about, the experiences of people of colour going through cancer. So it's really nice.
Which is the perfect segue into me wanting to dive straight into how I met you, basically, which is through Black Women Rising.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the charity. Why is it that we need Black Women Rising?
So I was diagnosed with breast cancer 9 years ago, at the age of 30. I was a fit and healthy dance teacher, fitness instructor. I I have 7 siblings, there's 4 sisters. And out of all 4 sisters, I'm the one who's led a very healthy lifestyle. And also really health conscious because I had a few issues, like I had a few issues with my gut growing up and things like that. So I was just so health conscious. And my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer the same year as me,
No way.
6 months before me, for the second time. So cancer had always been in my family, and I guess it was just really shocking when I found my lump, and absolutely even more shocking when I was diagnosed with breast cancer by the same consultant who said it to my mum, and I was in with my mum when she was diagnosed as well. So it was almost like, oh my God, here we go. I didn't take it seriously, so much so I rocked up with a best friend, and my younger brother decided to come with me because he was quite nervous because of my mum and the fact that they were taking it seriously. And I guess once I was diagnosed, I guess it led me on the next 8 months. There was a few things that became apparent to me. I think number one, when I first was diagnosed, I did not see any representation of anybody that really looked like me around the waiting rooms and in the leaflets that I was given. There was no representation of young women, let alone women of colour, in all of those booklets that you get given when you're diagnosed about chemotherapy and all the other things.
And who's giving those booklets out?
The care team, your consultant and care team. But I think for me, it was when I started chemotherapy as well. And chemotherapy was actually probably, everyone would say it was the toughest time. For me, actually going to the chemo ward every 3 weeks was one of the joyous times because the nurses and people up on that ward treat you so lovely, and you meet people and you talk to people. And as I got talking to a lot of the women that were on the ward, particularly when I realised that there were people of colour going through breast cancer, like I was hearing their stories. Now, one of the first things I was told when I told some close family and friends that I had cancer was, Black people don't usually get cancer. So I was told that.
Who told you that, for example?
Just a friend, and again, it's that ignorance is bliss. If you don't know or you're not educated about cancer, like I was, because of my mum's experiences, then these are the things that are, these stigmas exist in our communities. I didn't know how extensive they were at that time, but it made me feel almost like, why have I got cancer then? And then it was by the time I got on the ward and I started hearing other people's stories, there was women in there that said that they couldn't tell their families wouldn't agree that they were having chemo. People were told, go back to where you caught your cancer from. This is the terminology people are using. There was another girl on the ward who said that a nurse in her ward told her that, what are you doing here? Because Black people don't usually get cancer. And that's a nurse. So this is the things. These were the nuances of experiences that I was hearing. And one day, rocked up to my hospital's support group. I was a little bit late. And I was really struggling with my mental health through chemo. And I walked up, and I kid you not, the person who was running the group turned around and said, "Hi, can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm here for the group." And she said, "Are you here for your mum?" I said, "No, I'm here for the group. I have breast cancer." And she turned around and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, but you look far too young to be in here." And do you know what? That group was a funny group because it was great, but there was about 30 women in the group. I was one of the only women of colour and definitely the youngest. I was the youngest on the hospital's rota at the time as well for breast cancer. And I was like, no, I need to start my own, or I need to have a group of my own. And I tried to go to the reception and say, look, is there any way I could start a group for young women? Like, it wasn't even about colour at the time. It was like, can I start a group for young women? Because like, I'm the youngest in there and stuff. And they went, no, it's for everybody. We can't exclude. And I guess that just led me on a trail to really start looking at those nuances that I started to see. Did I know that they were going to be as deep as time went on and I discovered there was so much more to this whole cancer journey for people of colour? No, I didn't at the time. But that's what started that journey, was just feeling so excluded in a sense from any support because I just did not see anything that represented me.
Right, let's unpack a few things, because you're obviously like a natural born leader, and you're somebody who instinctively thinks, I'm going to start this.
Yeah.
Because you've done it before.
Yeah.
So I want to unpack that. But before I do, when you mentioned in the community hearing, things that a lot of people listening to this or watching this will think are crazy, like Black women don't get, Black people don't get cancer. let's unpack, like, in our community, why do you think that people say things like that? Where's that come from? I mean, we can talk about research a bit later about, what as Black women, we're more likely to get the types of breast cancer and things like that to help people. Like, where do you think that comes from, that idea that exists sometimes in our community?
I think everything is to do with cultural myths and taboos that are really deeply ingrained in Black and brown communities, and these are things that are down to do with terminal illness. A lot of it is ingrained with religion, and spirituality. And it's, when I've done my own research or traveled or spoke to so many people, these are the things that come out. It's around religion, it's around shame, it's around blame. And these are things that are just so deep rooted in our communities that it would take a lot to go back. But also lack of education. As I said, it's very different now, but 9 years ago, 10 years ago, is going to be 10 years next year, October. There was no representation of young Black women in any of the cancer campaigns I saw, anything. I tried to look. I'm a very active person. I tried to look online. I saw one young girl talking about cancer online, and I'm glad to say she's a very good friend of mine now. But there was no one else, there was no one else. And those sort of things, if I felt like that, can you imagine how many other people felt like that? There's no representation of us. Am I the only one? And then you've got your cultural nuances from your friends and family who do not understand about cancer, who are not seeing that cancer includes them. That's why campaigns and all these, health drives and all these things are so, so important, so that people know that these things, that they can get these diseases. And I guess for me at the time, that was the one thing that I saw that just didn't exist. And again, this is the stuff that I've been helping, change with the charity and the work that we've done, because it's been a complete 360 on it. But yeah, I just think it's so culturally embedded. Religion, belief systems, lack of healthy conversation about these things. Like, even in my 9 years now, like, one of the things that so many people still come and tell me, I was told last night, was that, when elders in the family died, suddenly, you would hear that they just died. And then years later, you'd find out, oh, actually, that person had cancer.
I hear this a lot in the Black community.
Yeah, there's a lot of shame. And I think it's to do with so much more than just illness. I think if we look at our pasts and we look at the things we've been through, I think there's so much wrapped up in that. And there's so much undoing and unlearning that we've got to do, especially when it comes to illness, because cancer's here and it's not going anywhere. And so that's what we do at Black Women Rising is we're helping people really unlearn the things that they think they know about it.
I think that word shame is really interesting. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot, because I had someone in the medical profession tell me that they think, it was a psychiatrist, that they think I'm living a shame-based existence through trauma, childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And all they know about me is that I was adopted and that my dad passed away when I was 7. That's literally all they know. And they're somebody who's, 30 years into their career, someone that I really trust as a psychiatrist. And I thought, this is fascinating. And the reason it's fascinating is because every day I wake up and I do feel a sense of shame. I don't even know why. And then I started researching, like, shame and Black women, and there's a lot around that.
There is.
And there's more research that needs to be done. A lot of it is kind of like race-based shame, even just existing in this country every single day. I say this to my husband all the time, who is white. I'm like, every single day I'm aware that I'm Black.
Yeah, of course.
Or I'm of colour.
Yeah.
It's like a daily thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like sometimes like explaining to people how it is just to exist as and then as a woman as well.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about the connection between shame and Black women and health?
It's really hard because, again, everything is about evidence-based. If you're asking for my personal opinion, then I would say I think that the one thing that people ask me often is, what causes cancer? Yeah.
Right.
And I think we've got to call a spade a spade. A lot of the time I get these questions. What causes cancer? Is it my trauma? Is it my childhood trauma? Is it my stress levels? Is it this? And I think I can't answer that, because I can't. And it would be out of my own profession to say, especially with so many people following the work of Black Women Rising, to turn around and say people, oh, it's your stress and it's this and it's that. But what I do know is I know because of my own journey with shame, because I was someone who was sexually abused. So shame comes with that. Shame is something that I live with every day because of that. I know that when I got cancer, I automatically internalized it as my own blame.
Wow.
And I know there was so much shame wrapped up in that. Oh, I've caused it. It was this that caused it. It was that caused it. I know another thing, not just shame, that is tied with Black women is guilt.
Mm.
And so I see that so much now with my own journey. The first thing I thought about when I got cancer not only was shame and blame, but guilt. Oh, I don't want my family to have to deal with this. I don't want anyone to have to look after me. I don't want this. I don't, I'm strong. I'm this, there's so many mixed emotions. And I think that does come down to, and what I've learned since these experiences is how much my therapeutic journey has been really important, and my own journey with self-love and really digging and getting to the root of the problem. That's been so important for my healing journey. It's been the most important thing, actually, for my recovery from sexual abuse. It's been my most important recovery from cancer, is getting to the root of that shame, that blame, and that guilt. As I keep saying to people, there is so much research papers out there. If you asked me today, why do people get cancer? I can't tell you. If you asked me why Black women are disproportionately affected by cancer, I can't tell you that. It's a whirlwind of stuff. But what happens is all those worries and all those fears that people have, they get passed on to women when they're diagnosed with something like cancer. And all that people want to do is go, I just want to know how I got my cancer. What have I done wrong? And it's like, actually, we just don't know. How about sitting and living with the fact that we just don't know? And I know this because of the probably now thousands of people that have come to me to tell me they've had a cancer diagnosis and they've gone, I've lived a healthy life all my life. I've really tried to do this. I don't have these products in my home. I've done this. I've had a journey of therapy. I've done this and I've done that. And the thing I always tell people is, let's go back to self. We just don't know. And it's here and we've got to deal with it. What things are going to make your journey a lot easier? And that's a conversation I have a lot. Definitely weekly.
Wow.
Because I think we spend a lot of our lives looking for answers for stuff. And sometimes it's just not there. And I think of life now as someone who went through childhood sexual abuse and then went through severe depression in my 20s and then cancer at 30 when I was just getting life together. Could I sit there and go, oh my God, why me and why this and how comes this? I learned I had to just sit in it. That year I had off, going through chemotherapy, putting on 2 stone of weight, then, losing all my hair, losing both of my breasts, periods stopping, not freezing my eggs, then going into early menopause. It's never ending. Why? And I think we spend so much time searching for reasons. And I think for me, what I'm learning the art of is just letting go and really focusing on that inner healing. Because that's really helped me really sort of frame up, actually, everything happens for a reason. And I'm in control of today. And I'm going to try and do my best, my very best for myself, my loved ones, and do what I can today. And I can't give much more than that.
Wow. And would you say that's now within your toolkit of healing, is to take each day as it comes and also focus on what you can control? Is that advice you'd give?
It's just the most important advice I would give. Because if you don't, I've seen the effects of when you don't do that. And, I've seen so much more harm come from that, not thinking that. And I can only give my best. And I guess out of all of those things, what really, I guess, I noticed in myself was this need to please and become a bit of an overachiever, out of all this trauma. Like, I've got to do this and I've got to do this for everybody else and I've got to show up and all of those stuff. And then I just realized, no, actually, I'm not doing myself any favors here. And so, I do live like I can only do what I need to do today. learned to be a lot more easygoing, and actually realized I just can't please everybody, but I'm going to please myself. And that's thinking, it's only new, by the way, since 37, it's really been like a life-changing year for me of just some of these new practices I have. It took a while for things to click into place and for me to go, actually, yeah, I'm getting to the flow of how I want to show up as a woman now entering my 40s. Yeah. And it feels good.
Wow, I'm blown away, honestly. And the thing that really lands with me is that, like, and this is one thing that I got from, I didn't even know about, what you've been through and the survivorship. I didn't
Mm,
know any of that, right?
mm,
But what has really landed with me, and what I got from you instantly when I met you, is
mm,
that you're like a leader. Like, you've just
mm,
got this within you. But
mm,
where, if you're speaking to somebody else right now who's listening, who is navigating abuse or is a survivor
mm,
of abuse, cancer, what message have you got for resilience? Because you're somebody who, if I'm going
mm,
through that, I'm looking at you and I'm
mm.
thinking, there is light at the end of the tunnel, because
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
this woman.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what is it, on a practical level,
Mm,
how have you built that resilience to
mm.
come through everything?
Do you know what? If people ever wanted practical tools, I'm very open to the stuff that I do. And in order for me to build resilience, therapy was number one. I needed talking therapy away from family and friends who I know always have offered an open ear. I needed to talk it out with someone. And I started therapy actually over sort of 10 years after my sexual abuse case. So it's never too late to start. And then I make sure I do some daily practices. I got taught these daily practices from my younger sister, who saw I was going through quite bad depression after a breakup in my late 20s. And she taught me a lot about gratitude, daily gratitude, and praying, the art of prayer, and affirmations, and it was my little sister that taught me this. She bought
Wow.
me a book, and this book had 28 days of gratitude, and instantly, the day I got that book, my life changed. It changed how I showed up for myself, because I knew I lived a life up until that of someone who, again, was so ingrained in the shame. I had such low self-esteem. It's something I battle with every day still.
Really?
But she showed me these things, and I tell you, gratitude has transformed my life. Affirmations have transformed my life, and therapy, and all different types of therapy as well. That is what's given me the resilience. Practicing the art of affirmations and gratitude every day has really changed how I view myself. And because I view myself very different now, that's why I'm able to do all the things that I do,
How do you view yourself now?
Do you know what I would say? I still struggle with self-esteem. I still do. I keep saying to everyone, it's a muscle that I have to exercise every day.
Yeah.
But the one thing I can hands on heart say is that I'm a good person with good intentions. And that's enough for me. I know I've got an amazing heart. I've got a beautiful heart that I've been blessed with. And I'm really confident in that. So I know that everything will always be okay, because I've got a good heart and I've got really good intentions, and I want everyone to win, and I love everybody. I love people. That's why I've had next year will be 25 years of community work. And that's
Wonderful.
because I love people. I haven't made loads of money from it. There's nothing, the satisfaction I get from that community work is all these incredible people who've gone away and said, because you provided these services, my whole life has changed. And that's my biggest compliment when I see those young kids that used to come to my dance classes and all that, and they go, "Oh my God," and they still call me Miss, and it's so weird because some of them, when I ask them, and I'm like, "How old are you?" I saw one the other day in the supermarket, and she goes, "Oh, Leanne, I'm 38," and I'm like, "I'm 40," so we never had like much in age difference. We never did, but we were all young, and I'm a bit of an old soul. I've always been an old soul. So it was like, actually, and she was like, "Oh, I've got 3 kids now and I'm doing this and doing that. But if I never had dance, I don't know what I would have done." And it was like, yes, like that's like my biggest compliment, and really helps, cement that knowing inside of me.
Do you think that is your reason for being? Because I want to rewind to a younger Leanne, because
Mm,
obviously the Movement Factory,
yeah.
Tell us about that, because that was 2001. And what
Mm.
was the motivation behind starting that? Because you've always had this inside you to want to, like you say, do so much community work.
I think it comes back to, so I grew up in Norfolk, right? And I came here when I was 10.
Really?
I did. Came here when I was 10. And in Norfolk, there wasn't lots of opportunities, but I was obsessed. We also were dirt poor, but I was obsessed with peering through the little cracks in this youth centre that was on my housing estate. And all the girls in there used to come for weekly dance classes, or there was something called the toilettes and all these things. And I used to be obsessed with watching them. But it was too expensive. My mum couldn't afford me, and it couldn't afford for me to go. And not being funny, I just always felt like maybe I couldn't go because I was black as well, and in Norfolk, we were like one of probably only one black family. And, so when I came to London, it was it was a melting pot, not only was there so many people that looked like me, but there was a wealth of opportunity, right? And 1 year later, I went to secondary school. And attached to my secondary school was a youth centre. And they would come into to the playground every day and go, there's a youth centre here, come after school and we can do whatever you want. And I'd be like, yeah, go. And all my friends would be like, no, you don't want to go to that youth centre. You do not want to go,
How
off
old
the
were you
old Kent Road. I was 11, off the old Kent Road, at a school. And I was like, listen, they're saying it's free, And I'm thinking about like the lack of things in Norfolk. And I'm like, yes. And I'll never forget going in. And they said, what would you like to do? You've just started this school. We're here to help. We're a youth centre. And I was like, dance. And they did. A couple of weeks later, they brought a dance teacher in. And not only was she a dance teacher, she was like a world champion because her sister was a youth worker at the centre. And so that's where it all started for me, was this dancing in a youth centre. Naturally, I think you probably could tell, you said you're a natural leader. My mum or my family would say I'm naturally bossy. And I'd be like,
that's
that
good
person.
thing,
I love it.
You get stuff done.
I love it. And, I would be that one to get all my friends to come when they just thought it was like a scraggly old youth centre. I'd be like, no, come, let's go.
You saw the vision.
Yeah, I saw the vision. And I guess when I went through the whole sexual abuse case, I didn't also want to be at home, and so it was a great place for me to be in, just for safety reasons, of being in a safe space for myself, and I think for me it was just such a haven for me to be there and to be learning dance, which obviously at the time I didn't know that it was a great form of self-expression. I just didn't have that know-how. It was just making me feel good.
Yeah.
And then the teacher was a world champion, so she'd always go off, and so she'd be like, Leanne, you lead the class. And then in the end she had to leave because she just didn't have the time for it. And then I was in year 11 by that time. And the youth centre manager said, do you have your NI card yet? And I went, yeah, I've just got it in the post.
Insurance,
the National Insurance. And he went,
that's old school.
He goes, do you think you'd take over the class? I'll give it to you. And he goes, but just eat it and I'll pay you. And I was like, how much? And it's like £6 an hour. And I was like, oh my God, it's my first job.
Did you feel like it was like escapism for you?
Yeah. It was definitely escapism. Yeah. It was escapism. It was something probably I could control as well. I was like looking at how am I setting up the next branch of this and that, because by that time classes had started. I was giving money to put on dance shows, bring the community together. It was a lot of responsibility, but it was incredible. Yeah.
So you were like kind of a young entrepreneur.
I was so young entrepreneuring.
At what age?
15.
You're joking?
15.
With your national insurance card?
With my national insurance card.
Oh,
and I think
goodness.
I got my first grant, which was £1,000. I think I got my first grant when I was 16. Yeah, I was 16. Got my first grant of £1,000.
How did you stay so focused and intentional with all of the things that you were going through as a young person?
Don't know. I can't. I wish I had a formula. I don't know. I give thanks for that. I give thanks for my younger self. I give thanks now. I give thanks for whoever guided that younger version of me, because things could have been very different. And I give thanks all the time. I was one of those, everyone, all my friends would say, Leanne was so well behaved. She was such a goody two-shoes until I was about 20, 21. And I was, started drinking and doing these things. But I was so good. I was one of those people that was just like a model child and,
considering everything you're going through.
Yeah, I was just like super, good. And again, I think it was control. I could control that. I could control how I came across to people. But I look back now and I think also there's this part about learning when you're younger about, and this comes from the home, it comes from society, it comes from adults around, where young people learn how to behave to please adults in terms of make sure you behave. And me being like, one of the youngest of 7 siblings, you kind of learn that because there's so many of us. You learn not to step out of line. You learn, actually you don't want to be as chaotic as the other sibling or whatever. And we're all 7 of us are actually like really well behaved, and there isn't much you pin on any of us.
Was your mum quite strict raising you?
Do you know what's so funny? Was she strict? Yes, she was. There were certain things we knew that we couldn't do. One thing my mum never was pushy about anything to do with careers or anything like that. She just wasn't. Everything was like, do whatever you want.
My mum was like that. It just comes from you sometimes.
Yeah. 100%. It's all come from me. Very much how I've been. Bossy,
it's just who you are, isn't it?
It's just literally in me.
What would you tell your younger self that was going through such a hard time? Because like you say, you've only now learned to kind of be able to tell yourself that you love yourself.
Yeah. Don't worry so much. I've spent so many years worrying. Oh my God. Naturally, I'm a person who worries a lot. But I think it was my worries and fears just kept me up at night multiple times.
Really?
It's just a constant worrying. And that everything was going to be okay. I've done a lot through therapy of like reprogramming some of the bad memories from when I was younger. I needed to. And through that, it takes you back to your younger self, and you do a little bit of inner child work. It's incredible. And you get to speak to your younger self. And oh my God, that therapy was absolutely life-changing. I've done it for 18 months, and it was going back to these really painful memories and talking to that person. And there was a lot of, you're safe and everything is going to be incredible. Like, just keep being you and don't worry, and a lot of like, you're not to blame. Like, and that's what I would go back and tell my younger self. But the biggest thing would be just to keep carrying on being you, because everything is going to be really beautiful. Like, everything's going to work out okay.
Do you have any advice to any young people that are navigating really difficult situations like what you've been through?
Now, this is really difficult. Again, I get asked this quite often, and it's really hard because I think the thing that everyone reverts back to is, don't worry, everything is going to be okay. But actually, if I heard that when I was in certain situations of unsafety when I was younger, it's very different because everyone's situation is so different. But what I would say is, go and find someone you can talk to. It's really important. And I think for me, that's where my journey of healing began, when I decided to go and find someone to talk to that I could trust. And then everything else worked out great from there.
So the earlier someone can do that, the better?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
How long did it take you to be able to speak to someone?
Years. Many, many years. 3.
And it was in therapy that you got to talk about everything?
Yeah, 10 years later,
Oh, right. But you spoke to someone else before?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of like starting to begin healing, took me a long time. Yeah, starting to begin the healing. And I guess it's different now because there's lots of different things now in place. But actually that same feeling occurs of loneliness, isolation, of different experiences. So yeah, for me, it's about finding people you can talk to.
One thing that really resonated with me, what you said earlier, and what I thought was really beautiful, was when you said that, like, you can now tell yourself you're a good person.
Yeah.
I think we find that so hard. Some days I wake up and, talking about the whole theme of shame, and it's like, not liking yourself is a horrible feeling, isn't it?
Horrible, yeah.
And if we can master that, it's almost like the foundation of everything's going to be great then.
It really does.
Because it all starts with that.
My life changed when I started to like myself. Everything changed when I started to like myself. And I lived a life going, how do I like myself more? What do I need to do? And people go, honestly, people be like, is it the gym? Do you go to the gym? Do you start working out? Do you start looking after yourself? Like, what is it that starts to make you love yourself? I think we've all got different ways, but do you know what really, really helped me was the reprogramming therapy. So I did the EFT, emotional freedom technique. But through the emotional freedom technique, one of the things that I was told to do was affirmations.
Yeah.
And leveling up my affirmations, like
what does that look like, leveling up?
So for me, like an affirmation could start with "I love myself." That's how it started. It was just like I love myself, I'm a great person, or da 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 da. Leveling up my affirmations now is like, let me give you an example of something I tell myself. Yeah, it's like I'm a good person with good intentions. That's a good one.
I love it.
It could be that this is a really good example I'm about to give you. When my car broke down a couple of months ago because of a tire, it was like this tire might have bursted, but I'm glad that the tire burst because it could have stopped me from having a worse journey. So I'm actually going to continue and have a great. I'm going to fix the tire and continue with my day, and it's going to be great. It's reframing. The affirmations to enable you to reframe your day, your thinking. That's me. It could be dating someone and it's a breakup. I'm grateful for that person because I'm grateful for that experience. It's because it's actually taught me more about what I don't want. And I didn't waste any more time with that person. And now I can continue on the journey for love because I know that I'm deserving of it. You see what I mean? It's like reframing everything. And so that's what emotional freedom technique allowed me to do, was not just reframe some of those memories, but also reframe my thinking about things when I consider those bad experiences or bad things. And it's really helped with this work that I'm doing now with cancer and dance and whatever, because nothing is a failure. Nothing that exists anymore is a failure. It's all like, actually, it didn't work out because it doesn't need to. So, it's like every time reframing that. And it's not always easy, I get annoyed, I throw my toys out the pram still, but reframing really helped with loving myself without going, oh, I didn't get that funding because I'm rubbish. I didn't do a good job. I'm not good enough. It's not worked out with that man because I'm not good enough, which is stuff I used to do. Now is so different.
I think it's such a that kind of like self-flagellation is so damaging, isn't it? And a lot of us do it all the time.
We do.
This is my fault, the blame, the shame, the guilt, like you said. It's amazing to think that you can reprogram those thoughts, level up your affirmations. What does that look like then? Do you write them down? Do you say them? Like,
I actually say them now. I used to write a lot of things down. I saw that there was complete power in saying them out loud. I also sometimes join a call with a friend and we do it together. We do gratitude to 10 things we're thankful for. We then do 10 affirmations, and then we close it off with a prayer. And at the end of the year, so it's coming up, we said that we've got to put a date in. We jump on the phone and we do our intentions for the year. Like, what is it that we want, and then we say those out loud as well. It's really, come join us.
Wow.
Come and do it with us.
I would love to. So you literally just jump on a call, like what, once
in the morning,
a week, or?
We jump on a call usually about 6:00 in the morning and get it over and done within half an hour.
Each day?
Do you know what? When she's in the UK, we do it every day.
Wow.
We try.
That's an amazing idea.
Yeah.
Because holding someone accountable to that positivity level is sometimes very important. But it just
starts the day when the kids are not awake or things like that going on. Just start your day, half an hour, and then you're like, gotta go, gotta get on with the day. You'll be amazed at how that little half an hour changes. But it's got to be someone who's like really on par with you and just gets it, and it's so funny because we're very aware of how powerful it is, both of us too. We're very aware of how powerful it is. And there's a part of me that goes, I want to bring this out to the community and do it for everyone else. And she's like, Leanne, just let this one be for you. Yeah.
Your mind's always looking to, that's amazing though.
Yeah. So it's like,
a gratitude partner is a great idea.
You need it. It's just life-changing. But saying them things out loud really has changed. I used to be right, because I am a writer. I love journaling and stuff, but I used to write everything down. The power of saying it. And now I can look in the mirror and say
more
this stuff.
More believable, isn't it, when you say it?
It's so much more believable. But when I first started, it was like, this is cheesy. I don't like doing it. It feels stupid.
I think as well, British culture makes you think it's cheesy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the States, they don't have as much problem with being like,
but the confidence training, I feel like, is so embedded in Americans from young at
I love it.
school because, like, they're told they're, like, living in the greatest country in the world, and
Yeah.
I love spending time with American people. They are so positive, and they are very positive and very supportive, and, yeah, it's very, very different culture than British culture, for sure.
I think we can be quite cynical here.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, when you set up Black Women Rising, which is obviously a charity that is there to help Black women navigate their cancer diagnosis, right? Did you come up against a lot of cynicism from people who thought, why do you need another group? There's, white women getting cancer and,
Yeah. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I mean, horrendous
What sort of things
messages.
were you hearing and from who?
Oh God, just people, just saying stuff like, why do you need your own space? You're making stuff up. You're race baiting. You got a chip on your shoulder. Constant. I had to come off of X. It was completely trolled out when I went on to Sky News for done an interview.
Wow.
But I guess my worst one was when I went and done an interview on ITV, and then I came off the interview and my team were like, don't look at socials, just don't look. And it started again. And what I'd had in my inbox was men shouting racial profanities in there. And I was like, wow. And they're just so ignorant and misinformed, But we've also had it from our own community as well. People saying, why have I made, people in our community strip? Because obviously we do those, pictures of women with their scars. Why have you got women stripping? I've had people who have run charities, other cancer charities, maybe for a longer time than we have, two emails just saying stuff like, who do you think you are?
What?
We've been here a lot longer than you. You're making out you're the only one. We've had this, and it's so unhelpful, so distasteful, and it's just so sad.
Let's talk about those disparities, though, because I think this is a good opportunity to educate people so that they then do understand why Black Women Rising exists and is such an incredible movement. I've been involved, here and there with the charity, and I just come away feeling like I'm on another vibration.
Yeah.
And so it is really important. But let's talk about the health disparities.
Yeah.
We've touched on the fact that when you were navigating your cancer journey, you certainly saw like a lack of anyone who looked like you in the literature. And like those kind of like mainstream charities don't tend to necessarily show people of colour as much as they could. But let's talk about actual health disparities and the difference between how cancer can affect Black women.
Yeah. So what we know now is that Black women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with a later stage cancer than our white counterparts. So that's stage 3 and 4, which are stage 4 is untreatable cancer. You can live with it, but it's not curable. Yeah, and that's there. We know that when Black women present with cancer, it's now at a younger age, usually below the screening age. So we know that. We know that Black women are not turning up to their screenings than our white counterparts.
Why do you think that is?
Again, I think it comes down to the education part. I think it comes down to outreach, community outreach. And I think this is where a lot of the larger charities could be getting that right. A lot of the larger healthcare organizations really focusing on community outreach and education in communities, going to the places that our communities congregate, such as churches, and various other spaces that we know that we're going to be. There's just not, the outreach is just not there. And so with the little bit of data that we have, we're able to build a picture of why an organisation like ours exists and why we know that there are going to be different nuances. So we've got lots of younger women now presenting with cancer symptoms, and they're going to their doctors and they're being dismissed because ultimately cancer was never a disease that was for younger women. It was a disease that was seen for people definitely over 50. Even 50 is a young age to have cancer. It was seen as an older woman's disease. We now know it's not. So people are going to their doctors and they're being dismissed. And then when they're finally diagnosed, that is then in turn making that journey even harder because they've been dismissed. So again, I think, it's nice to see that these statistics are now coming out because they were not prevalent before. We had to do our own research. I spent £600 on doing my own research within the 100 women I had at Black Women Rising. It took me 6 months to gather that evidence, but there was evidence to show that actually 96% of those people, so 96 out of the 100, said when they were diagnosed, they did not see anybody that looked like them when they were diagnosed or represented in the media. 87% of those women struggled extensively with mental health afterwards. 46% of those women were told by their healthcare professional they did not think it was cancer when they presented. It's not good enough, And so for me, this evidence and the picture that we've done and the pictures we've now created, and now with the women speaking so much more about their lived experiences in the charity, we realise that actually we do need our own space. And the organisations need to work alongside us to learn about our experiences so that they can improve their services. And that's what's happening. And that's why I believe that the charity is in the position that we are. We've now fundraised over £1 million, which is fantastic for our work. And we're now being supported by most charities now, in the cancer space, because they're understanding, it's a grassroots charity. It's pioneering. It's not really one like it. So there's lots of learning. We ourselves, we don't know from day to day. I couldn't tell you what we're doing next year. We just don't know because we respond to need, because that's how charities like us work.
And if there is someone watching who wants to start a movement, who wants to do work in the community, who sees a gap, in a place where they feel like there's a community that's underserved in an area, what advice? Because you're like the expert at do you know what I mean? Setting up these organisations and also galvanising communities, reaching out, helping people, inspiring people. What's your advice to someone who wants to be in the space that you're in?
Do you know what I always say? I think first and foremost is do the market research. Social organisations and charities are businesses just like any others. You're going to constantly be fundraising because you need money to do all the things that you need to do and to make the change, unless you've got money, which is a great thing. If you've got money and you want to put that towards, charitable work or whatever. But I think it's about going out and finding out, doing a bit more research. Who's in the space already? Is there a way that you can collaborate? It always weirds me out when I see people creating stuff that already exists. Unless there's a real big need for it or you're doing it in a different area. Because actually, if you're looking to really make a change, it's not helpful. Usually joining up and joining forces, it's the most incredible thing. Like for me right now, what really pushes the charity forward is collaboration and actually people working together to create change. I think that will always root out who's genuine and who's not. So I think when it comes to social causes, if you find a niche and you're like, there's a real massive piece of evidence here to suggest, is make sure you have that evidence, because if you put funding bids together and go out for grants, you're going to constantly be asked for it. So go out, do the market research, put the little business plan together. Business plans do not have to be 100 pages long anymore. They can even be a one size of A4 with aims, objectives, little bit of data.
A deck is great.
A deck is my favourite thing.
Colourful deck.
I love a colourful deck. And once you've got that, then I would say get yourself onto the nearest course that you can find about setting up whatever your chosen legal structure for that charitable organisation is going to be, or social organisation. So if you want to create a social enterprise out of it, because not everybody wants to go down the charity route, then, get yourself onto a course around social enterprises and how they work. If you want to do a charity, get yourself onto how to start up a charity course. Get that know-how in there. Because what I get through my doors all the time, because I do a lot of mentoring and a lot of business mentoring, is that people start these things and get themselves into a whole lot of trouble. Legally, legal structure, HMRC, corporation tax, if you don't know the little loopholes of, what's the difference between CICs and charities. So it's a minefield out there. And you just got to know. But most of all, fundraising. I see a lot of people putting their own money in their pocket, like using their own money to create social, to do social work and initiatives. And you don't have to. If you've set up properly, you can get grants for this work. And lots of people are not doing that and spending thousands and thousands of pounds, making a lot of mistakes, and then going, I'm broke, how do I continue?
Expensive mistakes,
It's so expensive.
Let's go back to the disparities conversation. What would you like to see from the healthcare system? Because we do know that there is a little bit of systemic racism, because otherwise there wouldn't be statistics like how Black women are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth. Obviously, there are certain things that are genetic and there are certain things that are environmental. But, like you said, you've had situations where you've had conversations with doctors, and so have friends and people that you've helped through the charity, where you're just getting bizarre feedback, So have you got a message for people that are working in like maybe decision-making roles in healthcare about how things could improve?
I would just say my biggest wish for it all would be Black women to be listened to. That is my biggest wish. I want Black women to be listened to, and I want our stories heard. Most of my work has revolved around storytelling. I think the more we get people's stories out there, the more people hear people's stories, people start to understand about experiences. A lot of the work we do at Black Women Rising is education. We don't educate because we have a pillar in our work that says we aim to educate. We actually have that now in our new strategy. It's coming, but we never did that. We have been educating by the resources that we create, which is storytelling. Storytelling is so important. There's a lot of safety around it, and you've got to make sure that people are not, divulging on their trauma that's going to cause them even more distress, which I had to learn the hard way. But I think for me, the art of storytelling is what is making a massive change in a lot of what I'm seeing now, is people's stories being told in whatever way they possibly can.
Right.
We've created theatre, we've created magazines, we have created portrait exhibitions to educate people in a way that they can understand
Poetry,
about our lived experiences. Exactly, poetry. And for me, it's about, we want our women to be listened to and not dismissed. The same conversations I've had when I first started the organisation are the same conversations I'm having now. There is change. We've seen a lot of change, but there's still so much change to be done. There's even some conversations I refuse to participate in anymore, because I'm like, how many times do we have to tell you? So we tell you in the way that we know the best way for you to understand, and that is to continue to tell our stories and to continue to push them out there. And that's why social media and events and all these things that we do are just so important. And it's so funny because I still get so many people coming up to me now from our community going, I just didn't know that. Or so many medical professionals going, I didn't know about that. And also, one of the things I'll say about the medical professionals is they learn, and the learning that they do is so rigid. These textbooks and the stuff that they learn are based on what? White males? Is this what people say? A lot of the ways that they learn.
Is going into
research,
that
right?
Demographic.
So for me, is that they also have, what do I say? Like, there's a misjustice there in their learning system, because actually there's so much more that they're learning now that they're graduated or in the system. And so I get a lot of people coming up to me and they go, I'm just so sorry, I just didn't understand this. And I'm like, actually, it's not your fault, because it isn't their fault. If you've been learning that way for such a long time, it's very hard to change. And so what we're seeing now is a few of the most forward-thinking departments and forward-thinking doctors and nurses and consultants coming forward and going, please come and help us educate our consultants about people's experiences. So we know that when we do get a woman of colour coming through the doors and she is a bit difficult and is refusing to take treatment, how can we learn about that experiences? How do we know?
Just closing off and not.
Why are just closing off? Why is that woman refusing treatment? And stuff like that. And so we get a lot of people coming in to learn. We're learning, they're learning. I have no hate, blame, or anything onto anybody. I'm all about, actually, we exist here. I think we spend a lot of time, it's important to tell stories, but there's a lot of time where there's a lot of anger in that, and there's a lot of finger pointing. And actually, I understand people need to be held to account 100%, especially when death is involved and negligence. But actually, when it comes to the learning part, let's help each other here. And I think we go with that message, and that is what really, really works for us. So, for example, our theatre play that we did, Unseen Unheard, which was an incredible collaboration piece. Thousands of people came through the doors to watch that theatre show, based on Black women going through cancer. And that just had such a high attendance from medical professionals.
Clever.
Where they could come in and learn and just leave feeling so inspired. And from the emails I get, the way people have, used our literature in their waiting rooms. I was in the breast clinic on Monday getting a check. Black Women Rising leaflets are in the waiting rooms.
Amazing. And that wasn't even your design?
Not at all.
Wow.
People are coming and they're going, yes, we want to have your leaflets here because we recognise, we need to do more and all of these things.
That's amazing.
Me going through my own trauma is actually realising that actually people are also, sitting in the waiting room feeling sorry for myself. And then I saw those leaflets and I was like, gosh, how times have changed.
What an amazing full circle moment for you as well.
Huge.
And then I just wanted to end on, I could literally speak to you for hours, as you know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to end on, a message for our community as our, the POCs listening, watching. What could we do, even if it's just a little note on, a word on like advocacy as well. How can we advocate for ourselves better? And how can we support other people, not say things that are going to get them to shut down even more?
Do you know what? There's a lot of things I could say in terms of self-advocacy, but I always say it starts at home. And that is by making sure you're creating healthy conversation about cancer or illness, or I'd say women's health in general, like healthy conversations amongst siblings, amongst mum and daughter. I think these are the things that I'm always saying to people. We need to start creating healthy conversation about these experiences, because a lot of these experiences are sort of taboo in the homes. Let's talk about breast checking. Let's talk about all these things. And I think once that happens, then we're able to kind of show up in the world if we feel something's not right.
Yeah.
I think there's this thing that I hear so often from people about, actually, I found a lump, but, we kind of just get on with it, in our household, or, I just didn't think it was nothing. And, I'm just and it's like, no, this conversation around that would have made you suggest to actually say, no, that's not normal. I need to go and find out what this is. And then having that community usually makes someone go, do you want me to come with you? Don't go on your own. And that support is so important. And I'll be honest, I really do believe that starts at home. That idea of community, that idea of taking care of each other, talking openly about things.
And that idea of taking care of your own health.
100%. It starts in those conversations. And from there, then you can go out in the world and do that. I accompany friends to clinics now. We have to work together as a community with this stuff. I talk to my friends about breast checking. I get so many people saying I'll speak to friends about breast checking.
Yeah, same.
We're even starting a little thing with Black Women Rising next year around encouraging friends and family to breast check. Just a really fun initiative to do so. So for me, it's all about community. It's all about the art of really healthy conversation. And it's got to start with someone. Do you check your breasts, mum? Oh, don't talk about this. No, let's talk about this stuff.
The home is
and
so
it really
important,
is,
isn't it? Because you can end up being like, oh, we never did that, so you're not going to do that. And it kind of like perpetuates this old school mentality.
Yeah.
That's amazing advice.
Yeah.
Leanne, I love you so much.
I love you.
Thank you so much for coming on here. And
what an honour. Thanks for asking me.
I know you hear this all the time, but you have made such a difference to so many people.
Thank you.
And their lives.
Thank you.
So, and through everything that you've been through, the resilience and to show, and I know that everything that you've been through is still work in progress in terms of what you go through. And so the final thing I want to say to you is like, look after you too.
Yes.
Because I know you're in demand.
Yes. Yeah, no, I am. Thank you. And thank you for just your support as well. And what an honour to be here with you. So thank you, Sarah.